those who would say, Mike, you didn't run before and therefore you shouldn't run now. Let me say this. In 2005, the DCCC had also called me up and asked me to run. And I didn't run for two very important reasons. First, because my children were at an age where my daughter was still needing to be driven to her soccer in Long Island, and I made a commitment to her that if she made the State Olympic Development Program, I would take her there. And I made that commitment, and she made the team, and so I was going to drive her. The second reason is that it was 2005. I was running for re-election in the city council. If you want to know what kind of representative I'll be in Washington, look at my record at City Hall. And look at this sheet. It's votes at City Hall that I'm attacked on for here more than anything else. First of all, this is not the politics to me right now. You shouldn't have Democrats going after Democrats. All my primaries I've run, all my elections I've ran, I've never once mentioned another Democrat in my literature. I've never done anything to talk about their record. But the point is this, I'm attacked for the vote on taxes. Well, by God, in 2002, after we were attacked in 9/11, sanitation workers had been laid off, teachers were going to be laid off, firemen were going to be laid off, policemen were going to be laid off. They were going to close the senior centers and the child daycare centers. We operated the city budget on $16 billion. We were $7 billion short. And a Democrat attacks me for taking a vote that was right, but I knew for the rest of my life I'd be attacked for, but not by a Democrat. I expect Bob Stranieri to attack me like this, not a Democrat. You know what? I knew I would be attacked for that vote, but I didn't expect to be attacked by another Democrat. It should be Bob Stranieri attacking me and not another Democrat.
Rather than have that kind of confrontation, it might be interesting if we had a series of debates in which we could make up our mind and talk about some of the issues. That way, we've already vetted Steve Harrison. We know what he stands for. What we do need to find out is truly what you stand for, because it shouldn't be the bosses who make the determination.
Listen,
No, hear my question, Mike.
Ask the question, David.
Well,
you want to know about the debates?
You're going to wait for my question, Michael. Thank you.
Question it, David.
Janet, I didn't ask you at all.
Well, I'm waiting to hear a question. I'm sitting here and I hear the word.
Forget about it.
But listen, if you want to ask me, okay, well, I'm going to talk anyway. If you want to ask me about the debates, the question is yes. If I'm going to stand up and listen to you decry the fact that I'm the choice of the bosses, I'm not.
I should be able to ask my question.
Speech, I'll sit down.
I wanted to have a series of debates so that we find out where Mike stood on the issues, and we already know where Harrison stands on the issues. Matter of fact, the club voted to endorse Harrison.
I'm not here for
And excuse me, can I ask the question for Christ's sake?
Let's keep it calm, folks.
But that is fundamentally it. You know, I would like to hear where he's coming from.
Debates, no question about it. This is a race that encompasses close to 700,000 people. It's like 4 city council districts. There's an enormous amount of work to do, and we're doing it really hard. We're working 16, 18 hours a day. We will get to that point and do that, and we'll be happy to do it.
That you are in favor of the death penalty. You for women's rights. But you are
That's kind of a liberal. That's kind of a liberal.
All right. The death penalty.
I got in trouble with the Brooklyn conservatives.
Is that your question?
My question is, did you think it was necessary to go after the conservative endorsement, knowing that there's a lot of people on this island who are going to vote against you on that issue?
I want to put it in this context, and I don't want it done in a way that seemed to be negative advertising, but I'll put it to you. So I'm going to say this in the nicest tone possible. Well, we were here some months ago, and there were candidates running for this office, Democrats. And the question was, how are you going to win in areas other than the North Shore of Staten Island? And one candidate gave an answer, I hope it wasn't quite as memorable. And the other one said he was going to put a flag on his lapel and wrap himself in the flag and campaign across the island in that mode. Quite frankly, Mark, The difference of if you are not, in fact, there's a great man in this room who told me to stay to the center. I'm not going to point any fingers to win this race, and he's probably one of the great liberals on Staten Island. If we're not going to win this race by running from the far left. Let me finish. Okay. You're not going to win this race if you're not coming from the center. And the conservatives on Staten Island are not ideologically driven. They know my stances on choice. They know my stances on gun control. They know all those things, but they didn't support me the first time. They supported me the last 2 times because they also look at my work ethic. And they say, you know what? We don't agree with them on all these issues, but the guy works hard. He does a great job representing us. We're going to support him. I went over to Brooklyn to the Conservative Party, and there was no way I was going to get their endorsement because they're ideologically driven. And that's the difference. So, and that's the answer. Maybe I offend some who define themselves as 100% purely liberal, but this is the first time in 28 years we can.
When I look at your voting record in the city council, there are 3 Democrats, maybe 3 or 4, that break with the Democratic council and vote Republican, and you're one of them. And I have a list of bills here, and I just want to know why.
Because in every case I voted for what I think is right. I'll keep voting for what I think is right, and that's what I think, and I can't change your mind.
So you're for the death penalty?
It's America. Vote for whom you think you should vote.
Okay, so you're for the death penalty?
I am for the death penalty, and under the law that Eric Italiano wrote, which provides for the death penalty in extreme circumstances, I am for it, and I always have been.
And you voted against the anti-war resolution, so you were for the war?
I'm sorry?
You voted against the anti-war?
I'm not going to get into a debate. My votes are my votes. You asked me a question, I'm answering them. My votes are my votes. I stand by my votes, whether they're right or wrong. When I voted, I felt what I was doing was right. And therefore, if you don't think I was right, if you don't like me, don't vote for me. But don't be a Democrat. When Mr. Kazar made a statement that did not correctly represent my record, I immediately sent out to the media a correction. The only ones who printed it was the New York Sun. It's there, check the date, it's in writing. And within a week, Tom Robleski didn't include it in the story, but in a column, he represented my position. So, if somebody who I meet for the first time says something about my position that's wrong, and I correct it, you don't want to accept that, Richard. So you know what? Don't
Michael,
accept it. Don't accept
Michael,
it.
that's not true.
Don't accept it.
Because then he came back again, somebody asked him the same question, and he said...
And and that meeting we had was on Monday or Tuesday. He came out with a statement on Tuesday or Wednesday. I called him immediately, and Friday night spoke to him in person and corrected the situation. I corrected it with the media. I spoke to Mr. Kazar. I don't know what else I should do except say, if it's not acceptable to you and you believe that Jerry Kazar should represent my position, and if I say misrepresented it and I straighten it out, and it's still not acceptable because you don't want to vote for me, don't vote for me, but stop banging on another Democrat. Let's win this election, Democrat.